What's up guys, and welcome back to some more Pokemon Sun and Moon content, and today we're doing some speculation, some discussion, and we're going to be talking about PokéGadgets. I guess that's what I'm allowed to call them, but that's just what I'm going with. PokéGadgets. Well, we've seen them in many games over the years, over 20 years in fact, well, not quite 20, but you guys get the idea. What do I mean by PokéGadgets? Well, first up we had the Pokégear in Gold, Silver and Crystal, and then further in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, a little almost phone-like thing, you know, as a phone you had, you could take calls on it and stuff like that. Then in Ruby, Sapphire and Emerald we had the PokéNav, which was similar. You could also take calls on it, but it had, you know, a little extra features as well. Or it was very similar, but just slightly different. Then we had a little upgrade in Diamond, Pearl and Platinum. We came face to face with the PokéEdge, basically a watch that you could do loads of different things on. Then we had sort of a downgrade in Generation 5, we only had the X Transceiver and the C Gear sort of combined. It wasn't really a gadget as such. The X Transceiver had sort of one function as opposed to the Pokégear, the PokéNav and the PokéEdge. But then there was a sort of a slight upgrade in Generation 6. We had the PSS, Player Search System, alongside the Holocaster, which was sort of the phone again. But then we had the big upgrade which came with Oras and the remake. We didn't just get the PokéNav, we got the PokéNav Plus, which had loads of different features. So let's have a look at each of these in detail and see what, you know, sort of what we've seen from the gadgets over the years, and then we can talk about gadgets in Sun and Moon. The Pokégear had three main functions. First, there was a map function allowing you to, you know, sort of look at the map of Johto. It wasn't, you know, too fancy there. Then obviously there was the phone function, as we said, where you could call up particular, you know, certain trainers you've battled in the past, as well as gym leaders, to arrange rematches and such. And the final sort of main function for it was the radio, which allowed you to tune into different radio stations and just sort of have something going on in the background, which is a nifty feature but hasn't really returned since. Then obviously we had the PokéNav, which again only had 3 or 4 main functions. The first of these was again the map did return, very similar, and then again we had a sort of, this one was match call, but you know, a phone function where some previous trainers you battled can phone you up and say, would you like a rematch, and then obviously you can go for the rematch. The last function was related to contests, and this was allowing you to check out the condition of Pokemon in your party, seeing what they were good at and stuff like that, as well as also having a ribbons function to be able to look at all the ribbons your Pokemon have collected over the years. Not a huge upgrade from the Pokégear, but still decent. And then obviously the PokéEdge was the sort of where the gadgets really came into their own. Obviously the PokéEdge, being a watch, had a watch function, but there were many other different apps you can get for your PokéEdge, including some that never actually released to the public and was supposed to be Nintendo events, but never actually happened. Examples of how, you know, other ways you can use the PokéEdge was you could check on your party using it, which is probably one of the most useful functions. You could also, it was part of the dowsing machine for this sort of, for the Diamond, Pearl and Platinum. You didn't actually have separate items, it was built into the watch. And there was many other functions like stop clocks, you know, timers, notepads, spinners, stuff like that. And obviously it also combined with the PokéRadar to allow you to sort of keep track of your chain of shinies. Stuff like that, which was really useful for sort of the games in general. It was a quite nice addition. As I've mentioned already, there was a slight downgrade in Generation 5, mainly because of sort of all the new stuff that was introduced, a whole new set of Pokemon, new sort of graphic system and stuff like that. So there was a big upgrade, so there wasn't really extra stuff. We had a combo of the C Gear and the X Transceiver, or the Cross Transceiver. C Gear sort of focused around allowing you to battle with other players online and such, whereas the X Transceiver, or Cross Transceiver rather, was sort of your method of your little gadget. All it was sort of another watch. I guess it's a watch, but it was also, it allowed you, like, it was a phone, you could call other characters in the game, and then was more utilised in Black 2 and White 2, where you had the Anti-Curtis side quest to do. But there wasn't really much of an expansion there. And obviously going up to X and Y, there was no proper gadget for this game. There was the Holocaster, which, yes, it was useful, and you could use it to, you know, you're contacted by other players, other characters in the game, and you could also get updates on, you know, events and such. But the bigger thing was the PSS, which wasn't really a gadget as such. It was more of a menu system that allowed you to, again, it was very similar to the C Gear, talk to people online, but it was a big upgrade. But the biggest upgrade of all came along in Oras, where we had the PokéNav Plus. Now the PokéNav Plus, I'm sure you're aware, had 4 main functions. We'll go over them quickly. First one was the Area Nav, which was basically a map, but, you know, could give you sort of high, you know, good quality details on the area of home. Then there was the Dex Nav, which was probably the most popular feature, I guess. It allowed you to keep track of Pokemon, as well as to hunt them and get special items, moves, as well as also hunt shinies. Then there was the PlayNav, which basically gave you a portal into the PSS, as well as Pokemon and Me and Super Training. which basically incorporated X and Y into OS and just hid it in here. And then finally we had the Buzz Nav, which is similar to the Holocaster in some respects, as it gave you news about both the game itself and other events going on. So arguably, the PokéNav Plus is the best gadget out of them all, has the most features. However, it doesn't have the sort of the little nifty ones that the PokéTab did back in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. So what gadget might we see in Sun and Moon? Why are we talking about gadgets? We have no idea so far. It could just be very similar to X and Y, where we have nothing at all. It's just the menu with the PSS. Well, I hope at least, we are going to get some form of gadget. Now I'm going to show these two screenshots here, and these are in the Japanese trailer that was sort of obviously not publicised as much as the other ones, because we had the start reveal in the other one, and this was more of a side one. But you can see here, the first one depicts basically, they both depict the start of the game when you're being introduced, and you can select your player and such. And what I want to focus on here are the sort of the icons at the top right of the screens. You can see in the first screenshot, it seems to be like a window opening on your screen as a whole, and you have the minimize, the maximize, and the exit buttons there, as well as 3 other buttons to the side of it. One being a camcorder, which with a recording symbol, which obviously means you're talking to someone, and the second one being a camera, and the last one being a settings. Obviously, on the second screenshot, it just simply gives you sort of a shot of a window. With a minimize, maximize, and a cross function. What I believe is that what we're saying here is basically the gadget from the games. Now, this is all speculation, of course, but it's what I'm really hoping is going to happen. I'm hoping for the PokéTab. Maybe not the name, but basically, instead of Pokemon Watch or Pokemon Navigator, we have Pokemon Tablet. Now, tablets have grown in sort of in size and popularity the last recent few years, so it only makes sense for the Pokemon company to say, right, kids are actually getting they're getting to grips with tablets. Let's actually put a tablet in the game, and it can be used as some sort of like that. Now, what we might see in the first screenshot, you can see there are 3 buttons on the right hand side with the camcorder, the camera, and the settings. Each of these might be different applications. This actually might end up on the bottom screen, which would make a lot more sense than having it on the top screen. But imagine, I don't know why it's on the top screen here, possibly just the introduction, but imagine on the bottom screen you have a screen similar to what you see here, with all these square buttons, except instead of just these 3, you also have a button for the player search system, which will then open that. You have a button for your party, you have a button for, obviously settings is already there, a button for your Pokédex, loads of different buttons on the bottom screen, which would always be here, and the bottom screen would look very similar to sort of your home screen of your 3DS, where there's loads of different games to choose from and stuff like that. And basically, at any time you could just click open these apps, and you could just do it, use the app for whatever it was designed for. So you could click Pokemon, and you might get a window pop up to show you about your Pokemon and your party and such like that. Pokédex might come up. Pokédex might even be integrated into this. But the idea I'm getting at here, guys, obviously we had the PokéWatch, PokéEtch, which you could have apps installed on. They could do a very similar thing with a tablet idea and have tablets installed on your tablets, applications installed on your PokéTab. These applications could be anything. They could be big things like, for example, the Dex Nav that we saw in ORAS, or they could even be little things like note sections or timers that we saw on the PokéEtch. It would be the best of both worlds, allow you to, just imagine your phone or your tablet nowadays, all the different types of apps you have on there. Imagine that in a Pokemon game, and each of those different apps having a different use. You could have a Dex Nav app, maybe, if they were to even carry it across there. It's unlikely they're going to carry it exactly across, but they can have a similar function at least, since it was one of the most popular sort of parts of ORAS, at least in my opinion. You could have, loads of different things. You guys hopefully understand what I mean. What I want to know is, what do you think of my idea? Is the PokéTab sort of an interesting concept for you? Imagining the bottom screen to be this, window into loads of different applications that you can use whenever and wherever. Obviously not wherever and whenever, but you guys get the idea. In the game, similar to a PokéEtch and a PokéNav Plus, but all in one on the bottom screen, similar to how in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the bottom screen had sort of, the Pokégear open all the time. I think that's what it did at least. Anyway, hopefully you guys like the idea. Let me know what you think of the idea down below, because I'm really excited for a sort of a tablet basically in the games, because I feel like it would be the best way to utilize all the different ideas they've had over the years, and instead of whenever you're using it, you just have a tablet pop up in front of your character in the game. I feel like it'd be a really nifty idea. What I want to know is what you think, of course, so let me know your thoughts and feelings maybe down below, and of course hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye my friends.